All right. Procrastinating. I'm going to bring you up. What's going on?
Hello, can you hear me? Is there a delay?
No. Can you hear me?
I can hear you. That's surprising. So I've been watching your channel for a minute, but I'm in third year in law school. I really shouldn't be watching your channel. But
I love it
look,
though. We got a lawyer brain.
nah, I'm not licensed. I'm studying for the bar. Hopefully I'll pass.
But you have a lawyer brain. No, you need to own
Okay.
it. You have a lawyer brain.
All right. So the first thing I want to talk about is plaintiff's lawyers, which is
Mhm.
what Tom Girardi and oh my God, I forgot his Ronald Richards are. So why are they so sketchy and why do they always seem to be the ones to get in trouble? It's because they always are working on a contingency fee. And so a lot of people will see these 40 to 45% a contingency fee from the settlement and be like they're stealing from the clients. Well, not really. They're also taking on a huge risk because if they don't win any money, they basically have done months of work for $0. And this is also why when Tom Girardi was basically stealing from creditors, it's really, really bad for the legal industry because it's increasing the risk that people have when they loan out money to these law firms in order to take up these plaintiffs who don't have money to pay lawyers upfront. About there's a like not all lawyers are like them, but
Mhm.
because of the way that they get paid, they tend to be susceptible to a lot of sketchy arrangements. Another thing, just because I mean, as somebody who's going to be a lawyer, I'm pissed off about the California bar is considering increasing the annual license because they're thinking about randomly auditing the accounts that say Tom Girardi would have that he would funnel into his personal account that should have gone to the client. But it's really annoying because it has nothing to do with random audits. If the Bar Association just did what they said they were going to do, which is analyze the complaints, so many complaints came in for Tom Girardi, all they had to do was actually look into it, and it would have been so easy just to, put that on their website, on the bar, sanction him, but they didn't. So it's annoying that every other lawyer has to suffer because Tom Girardi got away with something, and also there were sketchy people within the law firm. So now
Hmm.
I'm gonna my last thing. I know that we're trying to go quick. I'm gonna talk about the
Take your
emails
time. Go ahead.
between okay. I'm gonna talk about the emails between Ronald Richard and Edelson. So that was in the exhibit of the brief.
Mhm.
And it's just really interesting. I don't want to get too much into it. So essentially, in the first email exchange that Ronald sends to Edelson on October 7th, Thursday, he first is trying to schedule a call. And then in the middle of this, he says something that really has nothing to do with him. He says, we can also see if we can come to an agreement on the relief. The trustee may have to oppose the motion. This is the motion to lift the bankruptcy stay, which would
Mhm.
mean that all the creditors would be able to go after Erica, Tom, what have you. Give me one moment. For some reason, it just left mine.
Now, we appreciate
Wow.
you going through this.
Yeah, I just find this really fascinating because I didn't realize how sketchy it was. And as a law student, this is just screaming weird.
Can you
Um,
just reiterate what you just said for those that didn't hear you in the back?
I didn't realize how sketchy Ronald was. I knew he was messy. And also, when you look at these email exchanges, one really interesting thing that just really indicates a lot about the professionalism of a lawyer. Ronald Richard has a bunch of typos, but Edelson doesn't. So the Edelson lawyers are very clean, nice. And then Ronald Richard looks like he's, some messy guy. So it's a really interesting dynamic that I've never seen. Um, so the estate owes all the fraudulent conveyance claims against Erica, basically telling Edelson lay off of that claim of to lift the stay. And there's no fund from the Boeing money to her we are aware of. Key point, because at this point, Edelson is like, we got the evidence. Within that brief, they show exactly how the money was transferred from the Boeing settlement into Erica's business accounts. It is ridiculous.
Mm.
And also Erica's lawyer that they don't there's no evidence of it, but even though the names are redacted, at least from I'm a law student, I don't know shit. I sorry, I shouldn't curse. um I don't know
You
it, but
know
I
a
can
lot because
clearly
you're
tell,
explaining
oh,
a
they
lot right
have
now,
damning
miss.
evidence. Okay. They are a lot of damning evidence against the fact that Erica was actually the primary beneficiary of the embezzlement of client money. So Edelson is onto something, and for some reason, Ronald Richard wanted to stop further investigation into that. And that makes sense because if the stay is lifted, they don't really need him as the trustee. And so he doesn't get paid for what he has. But that also means that he's not actually doing what he said he was doing during all this public spiel, which is to fight for the victims. And so I'll show the points in the email exchange that hint that Ronald Richard is colluding with Erica. And so he asked for a call to talk about this stay, the bankruptcy stay. The bankruptcy stay has nothing to do with Ronald Richard. That is not his assignment. His assignment is to look into Erica's accounts. And in fact, arguably, he would want the stay to be lifted so that he could see more. But there's clearly something sketchy happening in the background. The Edelson lawyers then just like, what are you talking about? Because it is, what are you talking about? If you don't want to hear it, you don't need a call. However, you would be, okay, so excuse me, I'm skipping around. But this is, so Edelson lawyers basically told Ronald Richard, I don't know what you're talking about. Like, we already have scheduled, we have a 7th Circuit argument, which is a big deal. I didn't know Edelson was like that big of a law firm. Yeah, huge deal that they're in a federal appellate court. So really, I mean, it just shows the prestige of Edelson's law firm. But anyway, they go back and forth and they're just trying to schedule something, but Ronald Richard is pushing for them to basically meet within a day or two. And they're like, this isn't an emergency. This has nothing to do with you. Why are you so stressed about the lifting of a stay that has nothing to do with your assignment on this case? And so what Ronald Richard says is, you would be doing your client a big disservice. He's telling Edelson that for some reason, what they're doing is a disservice to their client. Why does this matter to Ronald Richards? We don't know. We are both very busy as well, but it is important for both of us to make the time to try and resolve without any damage. So again, when you're in industry, when someone's like threatening you, there's it's sketch here because he's been if you continue to fight for the stay. So now we get to the real sketchy part that involves
the real sketchy part.
Give me 1 second.
Yeah, oh my gosh,
I mean that's sketchy, but give me 1 second. I'm trying to find.
No, take your time. First of all, I appreciate you procrastinating law student for calling in, because I know you don't give yourself enough credit, but you know what you're doing and what you're talking about here. Guys, I've also linked the brief in the description of this video, so you can also look along if you're watching the replay of this later on this evening. So I do appreciate you breaking this down for us, because as I said to you before, I'm not a lawyer. I just like to play one here on YouTube. Not a very good one, huh?
Right. And just so
let me just say thank you to Just for the super chat. She says, I'm an attorney. State bars are self-policing. Long story short, the same people reviewing complaints against Tom are his longtime colleagues. And we've heard that before. Thank you so much for the super chat. Go ahead.
Okay, so here I found it. So on October 22nd, so they keep on going back and forth. Remember, the first email exchange was October 7th. So now we're on October 22nd, and the Edelson law firm is like, yo, Ronald is moving sketch. We don't know what he's doing. And they push him to basically tell them why he is so invested in making sure that the stay is not lifted, that Eric doesn't get probed further, that there's no longer any investigation. And this is what he says. And I think even the average layperson will realize that this makes no sense. I just wanted you to know that it was something that I want to address for her being Erica. So strange. She is not Erica's lawyer, because she asked me about it. So I thought you would say, okay, we'll have them for you by X, or that there's no other documents other than that's what's in the claim, is what I wanted to clarify for her. Why does Ronald Richard need to clarify anything for Erica? Erica has very expensive Yale-educated lawyers. There is no reason why Ronald Richard needs to come in.
Can you just highlight what page that's on, just in case for those that are watching the replay, they want to go, if they're looking at the brief at the same time?
Yes, it's the brief filed on 11/09/21. It's page 42 of 58. So that is where, or it's 41 into 42. The paging is a little strange. Yes. And then because Ronald Richard came off as rude, rather, he basically excuses all of his weird tonation with email is not always the best communicator. And just before I'm almost done. There's just one more email that was the threatening email, essentially.
Wow,
So the
this
big
is so
disservice,
I literally
it
got
is
this
good.
information. I just want to let people know. I literally got this information like an hour before I decided to go live for my previous live. But it's such important information because we've been following the story for so long. We know Beverly Hills is not in season right now. They're recording their new season, but of course, these series of litigation is going on. So I appreciate you, procrastinating law student. You're still practicing law right now with us, and I look forward to you becoming a lawyer.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not going to be plaintiff's lawyer because I don't want to deal with these people. Just to be very claro, I'm not. I'm watching this whole thing go down. I'm like, these people are not. They are making deals with the devil. So essentially, here is where we get the on page 4458 of the main document, and this is in the exhibition. So remember, you're going to have to go all the way down. So
Okay.
basically, I'm going to read this verbatim what Ronald Richard said, but I'm also going to sort of summarize what Ronald Richard is basically saying. For some reason, Ronald Richard believes that it is his duty to confirm the fee agreement between Girardi Keese and Edelson. This has already been, I wouldn't say litigated, but this has already been brought up. This is one of the first things that Erica's lawyers brought up. But essentially, what Ronald Richard is doing in this email is he's basically suggesting that imagine if it gets out that you don't have this fee agreement. And so this is where I'm also sketched out by the Daily Mail's coverage of the fee agreement, that there's so many outlets that talk about the fee agreement. I would argue that that is something that a PR, somebody from behind the scenes, is pushing to discredit Edelson. And I feel bad because Edelson doesn't have the same platform as Ronald Richard or Erica, but it is clear that this dead end argument about the fee agreement has nothing to do with what Edelson is actually discovering. And to remember, go back. What has Edelson discovered? Edelson has discovered a direct link between the embezzlement of the Lion Air settlement to Jane's company. So let me go ahead and read this email. So this is after a lot of back and forth, and Ronald Richard says, "Hi, Alex. Since you have put your right to fees front and center, which they have not, they are doing this pro bono. I had your claim pulled as part of our diligence in this matter." Okay, he doesn't need to do diligence on like that. He's not a part of the Lion Air thing. Are the two agreements attached to your claim the ones you are relying on for your assertion that you have the right to a portion of the Boeing settlements that went to the JK Trust account? Please confirm there are no other written agreements. So he's basically trying to force them to say that they have this limited fee agreement. Again, this really has nothing to do with what is at hand, which is lifting the stay on the bankruptcy. He's
Okay.
moving sketch. And he's basically threatening them. And they have done a pretty good job, PR wise, making Edelson at least look sketchy, like they had some sketchy fee agreement. Look, every lawyer is going to look at this differently. I personally think that that's really besides the point. It's very clear that Edelson did the work and they deserve compensation. And maybe they didn't, do it in writing or what have you. I just took the MPRE, which is the ethics test for lawyers. Maybe he didn't do it step by step, but he deserved, Edelson, the law firm, deserved. And again, they're arguing on the Seventh Circuit. They're a very prestigious law firm. If there are other agreements, please send them over immediately. Ronald Richard has no right to receive agreements between Girardi Keese and Edelson. And so I'm sorry, I've been talking for a while, and I know you like us to go quickly, but
no, because you were bringing very pertinent information that I couldn't bring to our listeners, so that's why I'm letting you speak as freely as possible.
And then this is just and thank you so much. This is just layman shady stuff. Thank you in advance for your prompt response to this request. Who is Ronald Richard to be like, suggesting that somebody gotta respond quickly to this request that has nothing to do with him? It's like he basically, this whole entire email, which is on page 44 of 58, is sketch. On a lawyer's perspective, why is Ronald Richard so invested in getting Edelson to drop their motion to lift the stay on the bankruptcy. I believe, okay, this is me just speculating, no, that basically Erica and Ronald Richard reached some agreement. And quite frankly, let me be honest, Erica's lawyer. Again, this is all speculation, allegation. This is not true. But they reached some agreement, and a settlement is supposed to make the job easier. So I think the way that Ronald was able to get Erica to the table is say, hey, you can pay $5 million instead of whatever else people are going to have you pay, and then you have no more claims against you, and you get to go on your day. And I also stop bothering you. I kind of make you look like you're in the good light, and you don't have any more liability. So I think that's what's happened. And because Ronald Richard only gets paid if the trustee gets paid, if the stay is lifted, all the work that he goes evaporates. And I don't think he wants that. I also think he wants access to Erica's contacts. It seems as though recently he's been collecting a lot of high profile influencer type clients. And I think that is because of what has been happening here. And so, yeah, I think
just sidebar, a lot of people were getting on him about the influencer, TikTok influencer on his Instagram. They posted a public service announcement and people were in the comments going crazy. I was like, what's going on?
No, it is sketchy. It's very, he's moving weird. He's moving weird. And I think he's relying on the fact that the average layperson doesn't realize how sketchy these are. And also that he was so hard against Erica initially. So who's going to guess that Ronald Richard might be working with Erica behind the scenes? No one is going to make that logical leap. And so I think Edelson doesn't have as much of a following. I also highly recommend everyone follow Edelson now. Do not follow Ronald Richard anymore.
Look, we're going to do it while you're talking.
Yeah, hurt his ego a little bit, get those numbers down. Yeah.
I'm gonna post this in the chat so people can follow him too. Hold on. Let me post this in the chat so you guys can follow him. Go ahead. I'm sorry.
Yeah, because I realized I think Ronald Richard really, he could have won this, but people like you and I'm sure Emily are going to basically call him out, and it's going to be really, really important because I think he's been winning the public relations game. And unfortunately, Jay doesn't have that platform.
And is this part of the reason why Ronald really wanted to come on the platform?
Maybe. I think I think what I realized, because you kind of alluded to your conversations with him, it seems as though he wants to make himself the authority. And so what he did in the past couple of months is he made himself the legal authority for the Erica Girardi thing for these past couple of months. And that essentially allowed him to control the narrative. And so if that continued, if you hadn't opened up the Edelson thing, then he would have been the lawyer. Emily Baker would have been that elitist, naughty person who kept on coming at him for no reason, blah, blah, blah. And he had some points, but he's just moving sketchy. So I think Ronald Richards, also, by the way, Ronald Richards is another person who the Bar Association should sanction. Like, this is the perfect example. If I go on the Bar Association's website and I don't see a complaint against him, I don't see anything, then I'm going to be like, the Bar Association, you have learned nothing from the Girardi scandal. You are still allowing people who are blatantly breaking the rules, or at least like doing unethical stuff to proceed. And also to get fired as a trustee, as a lawyer trustee, that's a big deal. Like, it's a big deal. And I feel like he's, again, on his Twitter, he's trying to underrepresent the severity of the fact that he's been fired, and that this motion was just filed yesterday. So the judge read this yesterday and said, oh, no, Ronald Richard cannot be on this case again. And that's really quick for a judge to move. So anyway, yeah, and I don't know too much. I think that Emily Baker as a prosecutor probably has more information and is probably better equipped. But yeah,
we love Emily, but you did a damn good job, Missy, and I look forward to you being an attorney.
All right. I mean, yeah, I won't be sketchy. I don't need money. Actually,
please don't. We have enough sketchy.
I won't be sketchy. I'm gonna leave you so that you guys can gossip about other things. But thank you so much, Kempire. Please elevate Edelson. Everyone unfollow Ronald Richard because his ego needs to be hurt a little bit, at least, by this whole thing. I think he thinks that he could preserve his ego because he thinks that he's a lawyer and he's smarter than everyone else. Look, don't let him win in that way. So anyway, I'm gonna leave you to be. Thank you so much, Kempire. Sorry for wasting it. Or I won't say sorry. I've been told not to say sorry.
Yes, please do not say sorry, because like I said to you before, first of all, you added so much knowledge to this conversation. Look, I read the reports, I bring you guys the tea, I examine it, I allow people to call in and share their thoughts on the platform, but you really brought an educational standpoint to this. So we appreciate your analysis, and thank you so much for calling in. And please feel free to call in again.
Of course. Let me go read my taxation law book. Good night, everyone.
To work, girl.
Bye.